What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, let's go over the NHL NBA standings like I did yesterday. Gonna do that for most days when I do the show leading up to the end of the regular season. We are at the very end of the regular season in both leagues. In the NHL, Eastern Conference, not a whole lot of changes. Capitals still at 100 and I think they're at 105 points now, actually. After, I believe they won last night. That will put them, at 105. Leading the Eastern Conference. They're going to win the East. Already went to playoffs by Carolina at 94, as is Toronto. Carolina still with a game in hand. Both teams playing well. Tampa now at 93. They've been playing really good hockey. Points in 8 of the last 10. 7 of those are wins. 93 points, 4th in the Eastern Conference. 5th is Florida with 92. Devils in 6th with 87. Ottawa in 7th with 84. And Montreal now with 79. They pick up a big win against Florida in overtime last night. Actually, we swept the season series with them. That gives them a 2-point cushion over Columbus and the Rangers. Columbus, who been kind of hanging around the playoff picture for a while. They haven't been playing well lately, but still only 2 points out. Rangers are out. They really played well all year. The Rangers started off really bad. Well, started off, the very beginning were pretty good. Then were very bad for a long time. Then we're playing a lot better, but have been playing great lately. I've been very up and down throughout the whole year. Been a major disappointment for the New York Rangers. They currently sit 2 points out they have 8 games to go in the season. The Red Wings are 4 points out. Islanders are 5 points out. So they continue to struggle. And then the Penguins 7 points out. And then as are the Flyers. And then Buffalo and the Boston Bruins, who have lost 9 of their last 10, including their last 6, are now the worst team in the Eastern Conference at 69 points. Who would have thought the Boston Bruins, team that had the best regular season ever 2 years ago, was one of the better teams in the league last year, was in the playoffs last year, was in Game 6 of the conference semis against Florida last year, would be the worst team in the Eastern Conference in April. Wow, 7 games to go. They have 69 points. That is the worst in the Eastern Conference and the 5th worst in the entire NHL. Of course, they have been a major disappointing season, and they fired, of course, former coach of the year, Jim Montgomery, early in the season, and they completely blew the team up at the trade deadline as well, which obviously hasn't helped. In the Western Conference, Winnipeg Jets still 106 points. Still 4 points ahead of Dallas, was 102 in the West. They scored a nice quintuple playoff spot. They have 98 points. They've been playing really well. They are right now 3rd in the West. Obviously 4 points out of 2nd and 8 points out of 1st. Carl Avalanche are at 4th with 94 points. Kings in 5th with 93. Edmonton in 6th with 91. Blues continue to stay hot. They have won 10 games in a row, the Blues. Currently have 89 points and have sole position of the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Minnesota is the 8th seed. Now have 88. Those should be the 8 teams. Calgary's the first team out. They are 6 points behind Minnesota for the last playoff spot. Vancouver is 7 points out. Utah 8 points out. Anaheim's going to be eliminated any day now. Seattle, Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose have already been eliminated. When it comes to the NHL lottery, San Jose has 50 points. Chicago's got 51. Nashville has 52. And then it's Seattle at 68 for the 4th worst mark, and the 5th worst mark belongs to the Bruins with 69 points. So those are the bottom 5 teams. The first 4 are all in the Western Conference. Excuse me, Nashville has 62. So it's the Sharks are the worst with 50 right now. Chicago's the 2nd worst with 51. Nashville's the 3rd worst with 62. Seattle's the 4th worst with 68. Bruins are the 5th worst in the league and the worst in the entire Eastern Conference with 69 points right now. So those are the NHL standings. Again, playoff matchups still far from decided. Right now, Toronto leads Tampa by a point in the Atlantic Division. So, and Florida is only 2 points out. So Toronto, Tampa, and Florida all in a heated race for the Atlantic Division. So we're really not sure what that playoff matchup is going to be. Right now in the Metro, again, Carolina and the Devils is pretty much locked in for the first round playoff matchup as of right now. So we will see what happens. Western Conference, right now, still looks like Dallas and Colorado right now. Now Dallas, again, only 4 points behind Winnipeg in the Central Division for the top seed in the West. They have 8 games to go. They have a game in hand on Winnipeg right now. Then the Blues are 5, who have gotten hot, won 10 games in a row. They are 5 points behind Colorado for third in the Central Division, while they're only a point behind the Blues. So they are 6 points behind Colorado for third in the Central Division. In the Pacific Division, good chance we're going to get the Kings hosting the Oilers, but Kings are actually only 5 points behind Vegas for the top spot in the Pacific Division. Oilers 7 points behind Vegas for the top spot in the Pacific Division. So that's what we got for playoff match going on. That's where we pretty much decided is Carolina and the Devils. That's going to look like a first-round playoff matchup. Most likely will be Dallas and Colorado, but still far from decided. If I guess that's what it will be, but still not decided yet. Again, Kings Oilers will most likely be a first-round playoff matchup, but still far from decided as well, as we still have a little bit to go. NBA standings now. In the Eastern Conference, Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, still on top. They are 60-15 on the season. They've had an incredible year. Boston's still 4 games behind them. Both teams have clinched their divisions. Knicks at 48-27 of a third spot. They have already clinched a playoff spot. The Indiana Pacers last night clinched a playoff spot, as they're going to the playoffs for the second year in a row. 44-31. They're 4 games out of fourth place, at third right now. Knicks, both teams have, it looks like, it's like 68 plus 7, 75, so 7 games to go. You have at the 5 spot is Detroit at 42-33. Bucks in 6 at 41-34. Detroit a game ahead of Milwaukee for 5th, so the 5-6 there is still very much up for grabs. Detroit 2 games out of 4th. Milwaukee 3 games out of 4th. They're playing right now. The first playing team right now is Orlando at 37-40. The 8th right now is Atlanta at 36-39. Miami was playing better after that 9-game losing streak. Have now won 5 straight. They have they are at 34-41. Orlando and Atlanta are technically tied. Technically, the Magic win percentage is a smidge better than Atlanta's. They've played a different amount of games, I think. I think Atlanta might have like 2 games in hand on Orlando. And the Bulls at 34-42 right now are the 10 seed. They're a half game behind Miami for the 9 seed. So those two would play anyway, and they are 2.5 games out of the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. They've clinched a play-in berth. They have eliminated the Toronto Raptors, so we know the 10 teams, and a playing team's not going to be able to climb into the 6th spot and take out Milwaukee. Milwaukee right now is 5 games ahead of Orlando and Atlanta. They have 7 games remaining in the season. Magic have 5 games left. I think the Hawks are around like that 5 to 7 game range left as well. So the playing matches are most likely going to be Orlando and Atlanta. Just don't know who's going to have home court. And then Miami and the Bulls, again, just don't know who's going to have home court. So the Bulls, despite being 34-42, have clinched the play-in spot. Toronto is out. So we know the 10 teams in the Eastern Conference. In the West, Thunder have already clinched the 1 seed. I mentioned that yesterday. The Rockets are the 2 seed right now at 49-27. Denver is at 47-29. They are 2 games behind them. They also took a crazy game to Minnesota last night. Jokic 61-10-10. They lose in double overtime. Russell Westbrook in the end of the game missed a layup and a bad foul that cost Nuggets the game. Lakers in 4th at 46-29. They are just a half game out of 3rd and 2.5 games out of 2nd in the Western Conference. Golden State's in 5th right now, continuing to play good basketball. 2 games out of 4th, and they are only 2.5 games. No, they are actually a half game out of. Yeah, they are 2 games out of 4th. They are just 2.5 games out of 3rd, and then 4.5 games out of 2nd. Memphis right now is in 6th. They continue to stumble after firing Taylor Jenkins. Half game out of 5th right now. 2.5 games out of 4th in the Western Conference. All of a sudden, they are tied with Minnesota. Both are 44-32, so Minnesota's got a chance to jump into the playoffs out of the play-in. Clippers are 43-32. They are a half game out of 6th in the Western Conference as well. And only a game out of 5th in the Western Conference, so both teams could climb into the playoffs hypothetically. Dallas Mavericks continue to be in the 9th spot. They're not going to be higher than a 9 if they even make it at all. Sacramento's the 10 spot. They are struggling right now. Of course, they fired Mike Brown, the former coach of the year, earlier in the season. Phoenix is now a game and a half out of the plans. They continue to just fall apart. What a disaster the Phoenix Suns are now. Kevin Durant's going to be out for at least in the next few games. Portland and the Spurs probably going to be eliminated pretty soon, but Portland's actually not been playing horrible basketball. They're 3.5 games out of the play-in. Doubt they get in, but still alive. Spurs are hanging by a thread. New Orleans and Utah are already out. But so right now, playoff matchups, Eastern Conference would be the Knicks would host Milwaukee right now, but that's still for grabs. Indiana would host Detroit. Detroit and Milwaukee could flip-flop. Knicks, I will almost definitely hold out the Pacers. The play-in almost definitely will be, I say Orlando and Atlanta, and Miami and Chicago. Just don't know who's going to have home court in each of those matchups. Top 2 seeds are going to be Cleveland and Boston. Most likely Cleveland having the 1, Boston having the 2. In the West, right now it will be Denver hosting Memphis and the Lakers hosting Golden State, which will be a hell of a first-round series. And the play-in will be Minnesota hosting the Clips and then Dallas hosting the Kings. But a lot of those are still very much so up for grabs. Like I said, it's very tight. The 2 and 8 seeds are only 5.5 games apart from each other in the Western Conference. In fact, the 4 and the 7 seed are only 2.5 games from each other in the West. So still a lot for grabs in the NBA playoff picture. Just want to say congratulations to Carmelo Anthony, a longtime Knicks player. He was elected to the NBA Hall of Fame. You could argue Carmelo Anthony's a little bit overrated all the time. Hell, I do think he's a Hall of Fame player. 10-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA third team, 2-time All-NBA second team. He won a scoring title in 2013 when he averaged 28.7 points a game. He finished top 6 in MVP twice, including top 3 in that 2013 season. Never really had got a big taste in the playoffs. He lost 13 of a 16 career playoff series. For his career in the NBA, he averaged 22 and 6 rebounds, shot 44 from the field, 35 from 3, 81 from the line. In the playoffs, in his career, he averaged, numbers weren't that far off, averaged 23 points and 6 rebounds, but shot 41 from the field, 32% from 3, and then 82% from the line. So overall, he was basically just as good as he was in the playoffs as he was in the regular season. Didn't shoot the ball quite as well. He never was really on great teams, and those Denver teams were actually very good, but those Western Conference were so stacked. His team would win 47 games. They barely even make the playoffs. Then the Knicks just didn't really have anything around them, and the time he left the Knicks, he really didn't have anything left. But, he was not great the 1 year he was in OKC. He was in Houston briefly, was not very good there, was let go very quickly, was important for a year or two, wasn't great. The last year with the Lakers was brutal. So he kind of killed his legacy in those later years. He probably should have just retired after after the Knicks stint. Maybe I could see you want to try maybe ring chasing OKC. It didn't work. Probably should have just called it there. But he did have a great career. He played in the NBA. Rookie year, of course, as part of the historic 2004 draft with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and all those guys and Chris Bosh. And, he played for 19 years until he was 37 years old. So he had a great long career. And he is now a NBA Hall of Famer. Also, Liam McNeely is playing from the draft, a star player from UConn. He's projected to be like a middle of the road first round pick, so he could sneak into the back end of the lottery, but should definitely be at least in the middle part of the first round. A couple of extensions in MLB. Padres extend center fielder Jackson Merrill, 9-year deal with $135 million. This is a great deal for the San Diego Padres. Not good at math, so I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I think it's about $50 million a year. Merrill had a phenomenal rookie season. He finished second in the National League Rookie of the Year voting, was won a Silver Slugger for his position. I think in center field, and was also voted as an All-Star. Last year had 292 with 24 home runs, 90 RBIs, a 826 OPS, was solid defensively in center field. Was off to a really good start this year as well, through 20 at-bats, hitting 400. One of the best young center fielders in the game, and the Padres lock him up long-term. He's still only 22 years old, so signs him until he's 31 at a very fair rate. And the Red Sox do a similar thing with Christian Campbell, their rookie second baseman. They gave him an 8-year extension worth $60 million, including 2 club options in 2033 and 2034, which is an absolute steal for the Red Sox. Obviously, Campbell's only played 5 career games. He's only a rookie, but he's the 6th best prospect in all of baseball. He's really talented. He's off to a great start in his rookie year. Had a great spring, which earned him a starting second base job for the Boston Red Sox early on this season. He is absolutely off to a great start. He's one of the best young players in the game. We're going to have a lot of those kids coming up between Roman Anthony and the outfield. You got Marcelo Mayer, who's a shortstop. You have an excellent farm system, arguably the best in all of baseball. And lock down Christian Campbell. The Braves can set the precedent for doing this with your young stars, even if they've only played 1, 2, 3 years in the league. Lock them up now. Give them these 7, 8, 9, 10-year deals. You know, you can get them for, yes, right now, giving a guy like that 8, 10, 12, $50 million a year might seem a little much, but within a couple of years, when they really, reach their full potential, it'll be a massive bargain. It buys out their entire arbitration years. They hit free agency a little bit later, and you just overall get them for a cheaper rate than you would if you hit the open market and went through the arbitration process. The Braves did it with a bunch of other guys. Did it with Acuna. They did it with Ozzie Albies. They did it with Spencer Strider. Did it with Michael Harris. And I see a lot of teams are finally starting to follow suit. They've kind of done so to an extent. The Braves started doing that probably about 5 or so years ago. Now it's really coming out. Also, you see these ginormous deals. You see Ohtani gets $700 million. Soto gets a deal worth close to $800 million. Could get up to $800 million. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is probably staring at least $500-600 million in the face when either on an extension with the Blue Jays during the season or in free agency, wherever he goes after the season. So you see the salaries just climbing. You got, baseball's bringing in more and more revenue. You got the luxury taxes continues to the luxury tax threshold continues to climb. You got a guy like Steve Cohen with the Mets, who's worth $22 billion and doesn't care about money. The Dodgers are also spending crazy money. They're gonna be paying like 6 guys $1 billion in like 15 years, and none of them will even be in the league. It's the way the league is going. There's no salary cap, so these big markets, the Dodgers, the Mets, all these big markets, LA, Boston, are just New York are just they don't care. They'll have $300-400 million payrolls if it means they give them the best shot to win games. So I think teams are starting to realize that. A guy like Jackson Merrill, yes, right now you do have to pay him $50 million a year, $130 million contract, but when he hits free agency in 4 or 5 years, that number is going to be way larger than that. He's gonna probably need a 10-12 year contract for $30-40+ million a year. So 9 for $135 for Merrill is excellent value. And for Jackson Merrill, this takes you through your prime, a place you're happy in San Diego. You make $50 million a year. You're set. You're set for life. You can support your family. Now he's a year younger than me. And he just got a $135 million contract. Christian Campbell's around my age as well. He just got $60 million. You give a 22, 23-year-old kid, $60, $70, $100, $120 million. They're going to say yes, obviously. And think about it. Jackson Merrill, when he hits free, will be 31. He can get one more big deal. Campbell will probably be around there, too, when it's free. He can get one more big deal before the end of his career. One more huge, $200+ million deal if he's that caliber player. So, works out for both sides, so those are 2 big extensions in Major League Baseball. In a college basketball coaching hire, Maryland has found a replacement for Kevin Williard. They hire Buzz Williams from Texas A&M. He needs a 6-year deal. He's overall had a successful career as a college basketball head coach. He started at New Orleans back in 2007. Didn't go well. They were in the Sun Belt a long time ago. He gets let go. 2 years later, catches on with Marquette. Did a really good job at Marquette. Was at Marquette from 2009 to 2014 for 6 seasons. Was in 5 of those 6 was in the tournament. He had 2 runs to the Sweet 16 and 1 run to the Elite 8 in 2013. After not making the tournament in 2014, going 17-15, they let him go. Overall was 139 and 69 at Marquette. Then right away caught on with Virginia Tech. Was there for 5 seasons. Overall did a good job. Started off slow, 11-22 in his first year. 20-15 went to the NIT in his second year. But 3 straight tournament appearances in his last 3 years there, including a Sweet 16 appearance in his last year in 2019, was 169 over there. Then jumps to Texas A&M in the 2020 year. And again, started so 16-14 his first year, was 8-10 in 2021 in the COVID-shortened year, was in the NIT Finals in 2022, 27-13, almost got the tournament that year. Each of the last 3 years, they have been in the tournament. They have won 1 tournament game each of the last 2 seasons, 25-10, 21-15, 23-11 each of the last 3 years. Remember, they were in the rough, brutal SEC, 120-73 in his career in 6 years at Texas A&M. 373 and 228 for his career as a college basketball coach. He's a solid coach, and he goes to Maryland. Maryland had a tough finish. You know, this should have been a lot of fun for them. This is a team that's not really, they've not really had a good basketball team for a few years, and you know, this year they had a great season, one of the best in school history. You win on a buzzer beater in the second round, that phenomenal game. You go to the Sweet 16, but it was just filled with, you know, rumors about their athletic director leaving for the same position somewhere else. He goes to SMU. Looks like he goes to SMU. Their coach kind of, you know, lying to them, saying, "Yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not talking about, you know, those rumors he's going to Villanova." He's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'm focused on the team." And then the second they lose, he darts to Villanova. It comes out he's basically been their coach for he's been their coach for like at least like he basically agreed like a week before their last March Madness game. It was kind of a foregone conclusion going into the year that he was going to leave, probably for that job, because he was upset that he wasn't getting the NIL pool that he wanted. And then they finally gave it to him. By the time they did, he had basically already agreed to go to Villanova. Just a really tough ending. But I do think they get a good coach to replace him in Buzz Williams. To finish off today, I'm going to rank my top quarterbacks in this NFL draft. I'm doing the top 6. There's only the top 6 in this draft. So I'm going to start with, but I'm just going to give an honorable mention to Jalen Milroe. I think he's absolutely horrible. This quarterback class is really bad. But here are my rankings. So I guess you can put Jalen Milroe like 7, I guess. At 6, I am going to put Will Howard. He started at Kansas State, then he transfers to Ohio State, does win a national championship this year. But the team you have was just extremely talented. You had Jeremiah Smith, who's just a superstar. He would have been a very high pick if he came out this year, even as a freshman. You had two amazing running backs with Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson. I believe both are going to be in the NFL. Judkins will be probably a 2nd or 3rd rounder. Henderson will probably be a 4th or a 5th rounder. He just had a loaded offensive line led by tackle Josh Simmons, who's going to probably be a 1st-round pick. Just loaded team. I don't think he's anything special. He looked rough at the combine. I don't see a whole lot of him. I think he's a backup in the NFL. Maybe in the right situation ends up as a serviceable starter, but I think he's a backup in the NFL. He's my QB6. My QB5 is Dylan Gabriel. I actually think Gabriel's ceiling is quite high. He kind of screams Russell Wilson, you know, undersized kid, you know, not really flashy, but he's got a very good arm. He's decently accurate. He seems like a good leader. He kind of bounced around in college. You know, like Russ, he was at, where was he at? I think he was at Stanford, and then he goes to Wisconsin, but was, you know, named team captain the day he got there. So, although he has bounced around a lot, you know, he started, I think, somewhere else, then he goes to Oklahoma. Then he ends up kind of bouncing around, ends up at Oregon. And he had a phenomenal year last year overall. Did struggle in that college football playoff game against Ohio State. However, his defense also couldn't stop a nosebleed. And that Ohio State defense was very good. There were no slouches for sure. So, Dylan Gabriel. I do think if he goes to the exact right situation, he could be a half-decent starter. Again, he reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson. I don't think he will be as good as Russell Wilson was in his prime, but he kind of reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson. However, if he goes to, you know, a situation that isn't great, he probably won't last for long in the league. However, if he does go to the right situation, I do think he can be like possibly like a Russell Wilson light, like an extreme light version of him. Like, he won't ever be like an elite, like Russell Wilson at his peak was like top 5 quarterback in the league, Super Bowl champion. He won't ever be that, but could be half decent starter. My QB4 is Shedeur Sanders. Yes, I have Shedeur as my QB4. In fact, I thought about putting Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders. I don't see it with this kid. Okay, I really don't. He's got a pretty strong arm, but he's not accurate with the ball. He holds on to the ball for way too long. He's a fine athlete, but not the best. I don't think he's a leader. He's got a large attitude that I really don't like. Some people say, "Oh, he's passionate." I call it overly brash and arrogance. I don't see it with this kid. If his name was Shedeur Jones, I think he would be a 6th-round draft prospect. I don't see it with this kid. I get it, the O-line of Colorado was not very good. Maybe if he goes to if he with legit NFL coaching and legit NFL O-line, maybe he's better. The best case scenario is maybe if he has an elite offensive line and some good weapons, maybe he can be like a Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith. But that's the absolute best case scenario. I think he'll be closer to a 2nd or 3rd string guy in this league. I don't think this guy is very good. My QB3 is actually Quinn Ewers. I'm higher on Ewers than most. Who's my QB1 going into the year after a strong year at Texas? 2 years ago after transferring from Ohio State. And, took a step back this past year. Was inconsistent throughout the year. However, he's got a very good arm. He's shown the ability to make big throws in big spots. However, he's got some ball security issues. He can be a little bit turnover prone. Decision making needs work. However, I think he's a good leader. He's got a good frame. He's got a strong arm. He can zip the ball in there in tough spots. He's played in a lot of big games. You know, some of them he hasn't come up super big, but in others he has. I think in the right situation, he can be a good quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Matthew Stafford, for sure. I think the Rams will be, if the Rams can find a way to get him, maybe not in the 1st round. He's not a 1st round prospect. They can find a way to get him in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. I think that would be an excellent move by the Rams. Yeah, he's basically like, I'm not sure if he'll ever be as good as Stafford. Stafford, for a lot of his career, to me, was always like a top 10 to 12 quarterback at the very least. Obviously, ended up winning a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but I think Ewers is like a Matthew Stafford-light kind of guy. I think in the right situation, with the right coaching, could be a half-decent quarterback. My QB2 is Cam Ward. Again, I don't have a 1st-round grade on Cam Ward. This quarterback class is beyond bad. These guys are all going to be overdrafted. Cam Ward might be the #1 overall pick. I don't think he should be drafted into the 3rd round. I'm not going to lie. Cam Ward has a really strong arm, but his accuracy is not always there. A little erratic. Decision making isn't bad, but it could be better. His footwork is really concerning to me. Again, footwork is one thing that with good coaching can be fixed, but his is really sloppy, and just I don't think he's a great leader. You know, this is a guy. Remember, he sat out the 2nd half of the game in that bowl game. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, a lot of guys don't play the whole game. You play the 1st half." At that point, you should just sit out the game. Just like, look, guys, I love you guys. I love his team. I love his program, but I really got to prepare for the draft. At least do that. So now going into the game, you let the 2nd string guy prepare and give the guys a chance to go out and win that game for the University of Miami. A team that was pretty close to the college football playoff. They almost got in. So I know that rubbed me the wrong way. I don't think his game is translatable to the NFL. I don't really see it with him. And also the leadership to me is very concerning. I'm not a leader at all. My QB1 is Jackson Dart. I think Dart's a late 1st rounder, early 2nd rounder. He's not going to last till then. Maybe he lasts till the end of the last part of the 1st round. There's a good chance he'll be towards the middle part because someone's going to trade up and get him probably. But I actually think Jackson Dart is a pretty good quarterback. He's got a pretty solid arm. He's pretty accurate with the ball. He's a very good decision maker, decent athlete. He's got to work on. He holds onto the ball for a little bit too long sometimes. He's got to work on that. But overall, I think he kind of flew under the radar at Ole Miss. I think he's the 1st quarterback. He should be the QB1 in this class. He will be the very best, the 3rd quarterback off the board towards probably the back end-ish of the 1st round. But he should probably be the 1st one off the board in this draft. Again, I do think he might not be super overdrafted. He probably should go in the back end of the 1st round. He'll go a little earlier than that probably, but nothing crazy. Like Cam Moore shouldn't go to the third round. He might be the first pick. Shador's going to go top 5. He shouldn't go to the 5th round if you ask me. So, but Jackson Dart, I think will be a solid quarterback. He reminds me of maybe like the kind of quarterback that Phillip Rivers was in his last year in Indianapolis. That kind of guy. At his worst, he's a Gardner Minshew, like a serviceable backup who stuck around the league for a while. But I think he's a good leader. Overall, I think, especially if he goes to the right situation, should be a pretty decent quarterback in the NFL. Those are my top quarterbacks in this year's draft. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day. Who stuck around.